Today we will talk about fractions. Let's try to enter some fractions and mixed numbers. Let's say I would like to enter 1/2. In this calculator, the fraction button is right under the absolute value button, and it looks like a fraction. In some other calculators, you may have an ABC button, A, B/C. The procedure is similar. For this one, you push the fraction button, then you enter 1, right button, 2. Now, if you had a fraction button, it would have been 1, push the fraction button, and then 2. Now let's enter 5/3. 5, right arrow, 3. It should display the right way, but when you're done, the cursor should be at the same level as your fraction bar. So to get that, push the right arrow key. Now, if you want to push equal, you will see that this is how it's displayed, and this is an improper fraction. So if I want to go to a mixed number, I would go in your calculator. There should be something that looks like ABC, AC kind of thing, and in this calculator it's this button here that I'm wiggling above the SD button. So you push Shift SD, and look what happened. You got 1 2/3, which is a mixed number. Now let's go to 2 1/3. How am I going to enter that? 2 1/3 is a mixed number, so I need to go to, in a fraction button situation, you would have entered 2, fraction button 1, fraction button 3. So you would have pushed that frac button twice. In this particular case, you go shift the fraction to get the mixed number, and now you can fill them in. You go 2. To go up, you don't go up. You see, nothing is happening when you do up. When you do right, you go to 1. Now I need to go to the denominator, push down 3. So you'll actually see it. Now, to get out of the denominator, you have to push right. You see now the cursor is to the right of the mixed number. So to go back and forth between improper fractions and mixed numbers, you're going to go and use the frac button, or in this case ABCBC button, and you will just see it. Just experiment with your calculator. In this one, I'll go Shift, and then when you push that, or you can push the equal sign, it will go back to improper, go back to mixed, Shift, and then Shift. Do you see it? It goes back and forth between 7/3 and 2 1/3. Now, how do I simplify fractions? Let's say I entered 6/12. Go 6, right button, 12. Now when you go to the right button, again the cursor has to be by the fraction bar. When you push equal, it simplified it. Usually this is how it is. You enter your fraction as a fraction with the fraction button, and then push equal or enter, then it will simplify it. Now let's try to add some fractions. Let's say I want to add 2/3 and 1/3. 2, right arrow, 3, then right arrow plus fraction 1, right arrow, 3, right arrow, equals. Do you see it? Now let's do 2/3 minus 1/3. Again, fraction button 2, right arrow, 3, minus. Oops. Don't do what I did. Let me go back and delete it. This is a good idea so you see it. Do right arrow. Now I'm going to subtract, minus fraction button 1, right arrow 3, right arrow to get out of that mode, equal 1/3. Now I can do the mixed numbers, 2 1/3 plus 5. How do I do that? Now this time I have to go to either push the fraction button twice, or in this case enter it as a mixed number. Shift the fraction button will give me the mixed number option. 2, right arrow, 1, right arrow, 3, right arrow, plus 5 equals. Now I want to go to mixed number. How do I do that? Remember, you go A, B, C, B, C. There is a button that's like this. A, B, C, B, C with an arrow. Then push that. 7 1/3. Now, if you want to do, let's say, 1/2 to the cube, you have to go left parentheses, fraction button, 1, right arrow, 2, close your parentheses. Oops. Make sure that you get out of that with right arrow, close the parentheses. Now we have to do to the third. To the button is like either x to the y or y to the x. Push that. 3. And now go to the right arrow. Now you got out of it. Right arrow will get you out. Equals. Let's take a square root. In this calculator, you push the square root first. In some other calculators, you may push it last. Let's try. Just experiment. Square root button. Now I need to enter a fraction. Fraction button. 1, right arrow, 9. Now get out of this mode. Right arrow, equals. Now, if I want to take cube root, so you go the cube root button. It's usually here above the square root, and now push the fraction button. 1, right arrow, 27. Right arrow will get you out, equals. Now, to get to the answer memory, this calculator keeps track of things. If when you push right arrow, you see, or up and down, left arrow, you can actually get to all sorts of places, okay? Let's see, the independent memory, if I want to store this thing, and let me go to the right and equal, and I want to store this thing in an independent memory. Let me go back up. I do store, and usually you'll have a store button and then an M plus. You see answer, it says answer is stored in M. So it will keep that in memory. And then you can just go and recall M. Just let's clear it. Let's look. Recall M. You see now it displays 1/3. So actually it stored it and recalled it. Now let's do some order of operations things. So let's clear all this. Let's say 2 1/3 times the parentheses. So let's try that. Mixed number 1. Let's fill it out. 2. Right arrow, 1. Right arrow, 3. Right arrow. Now I have to multiply. Now put left parentheses. I have to get the fraction. Fraction. 4. Right arrow, 5. Right arrow. Now I need to subtract. Subtract button. And then fraction button. 1. Right arrow, 7. Right arrow will get out. Right parentheses, equal. Do you see it? You want to get to mixed number. How do we get to the mixed numbers? Shift the SD button. You push it. Again, shift SD button will go back to the improper. Now, let's say I want to do 2 square over 3 minus 1/9. How do I do that? Go to your fraction. 2 square. You see it? 2 square? I just entered it. Right arrow. Now you get to the denominator part, right arrow, and you will actually see what you did. Minus fraction 1, right arrow 9, right arrow. Now when you push equal, it will give you the improper fraction. You want to go to mixed numbers, second SD. Go back to the improper, shift SD or second SD. Now, you see the difference between 2 square over 3 versus 2/3 square. If I want to enter 2/3 square, this is how I do it. I need to have left parentheses, fraction. Now enter your fraction, 2, right arrow 3, and close your parentheses now. Now I need to make this squared. How do I do that? Squared. And you'll see exactly what you're doing. Minus, fraction button 1, right arrow 9, right arrow, and you'll see how it's done. And now when you push equal, it gives you the answer. Let's try to do a fraction like this. And now I have a bunch of things in the numerator, and then multiply by 2 and then plus 1. So let's try it. Get the fraction. Now I need to enter the numerator, which is 5 minus 2 plus 3 times 4. Your calculator does know order of operations. Now go 16. Now go right arrow. Now I have the calculator. Now I'm supposed to multiply 2. Very good. Now I'm going to add 1. You see, it looks just like the way I entered it. Equals. And you want to go back to the mixed number. Shift SD. Some calculators will have a frac button, F-R-A-C, or ABCBC button. They all do the same thing, and usually it is done the same exact way.